So there's been some interesting news that's come out about Mark Waid recently. If you didn't know, Mark Waid is a comic book writer, a pretty big one. He's been in the industry for a long time, and he is currently being sued by Richard Meyer, your boy Zach, Diversity in Comics. This isn't new. We found this out a while ago. But today, something interesting has come out that I think is actually worth talking about. I haven't covered much Comicsgate news lately because there really hasn't been anything that I've felt like talking about. But this is pretty big. So I wanted to take some time and go over some things. This might be a long video. Real quick, description below, you'll find some links. Link to my channel, my second channel. You'll also find a link to my Patreon. If you join my content, consider checking out my Patreon. Also, check out my second channel. Got a lot of other content over there. I'm trying to build that channel up. Much appreciated. There's my quick little show. But Mark Waid has a history of being a bully in the industry. There's been rumors that people reference him as Big Baby. That's his nickname, Big Baby. And it's a fitting name when you look at the history of what the man has done. Now, this GoFundMe was started recently, which is funny considering $75,000 is the same amount of money that he's being sued for by your boy Zach. One little highlight I wanted to put here. If you believe, as I do, that women and people of color deserve to be able to do their jobs or any job without being bullied, donate. Stand with me. If you believe that someone's gender or sexual preference should have no bearing on their career they pursue, donate. Send that message. What is he doing here? Trying to send the wrong message to have people pay for his court fees. Interesting enough, if you go over here, you'll see that his lawyer, Mark Waid, yes, I know it's kind of funny, has been quite active lately. In fact, in one day, he shared Mark Waid's GoFundMe once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, within the short time period of a few hours. I think that that's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a lawyer do anything like that before. Then again, when it comes to Comicsgate, I don't think I've seen this kind of behavior before in general by some of these people. He's been showing the same kind of bull crap. I can tell already where he's going to go with his legal defense. He's going to go pretty much full SJW with his defense, which is interesting. I think this will be the first time that's ever been done. This case is interesting in many ways. But I just wanted to show those. It seems like Mark Waid and Mark Waid are cut from the same rug. But what's the real purpose of this video? Well, we're going to get to that. But first, we need to establish a history of behavior. Now, when I talked about Mark Waid being known as a bully in the industry, I absolutely meant it. And I'm going to show you the kind of man he is through the actions that he's done on social media. And then we'll get into his biggest and most probably damning thing that I've found out recently. But let's go over some of the ways he handles people that kind of give him any kind of back talk. So we have this person here. So today I had Mark Waid mansplain feminist to me. I'm guessing feminism. Exciting day. Tomorrow, I think I'll poke some bears, just for fun. Mark Waid says, I thought we had a civil, positive conversation. Apparently not. Thank you for the gratuitous insult. Said, I could write 3 paragraphs alone on you referring to feminists as the mob and mob rule. Mark Waid says, you're reading heavily into what's there. I did no such thing. I was speaking about fandom, not feminists. And Hawthorne comes in here. Not to mention that you seem to imply that women are responsible for fixing sexism. You've got a plan. Let's see a plan. Mark Waid, and that's total bullshit. Pisses me off. And that was a reaction to your, it has to all change immediately, not your gender. Mark Waid says, "You attacked me because I dared say the problem can't be fixed overnight. My response was based on your fervor, not your gender." Hawthorne attacked you. I said I hated a phrase. Your word choice here is over the top. Hawthorne says, "It does not have to change overnight. Telling us to wait to be treated fairly is pretty rude." Now look at Mark Waid's response. "No one fucking told you to wait," in all caps. This is a man who didn't get his way. That's the problem here. He didn't get his way. And how did he react? Not very well. And that's the kind of narrative that you're going to see from him throughout this video. You outright shouting at me, "You've spent hours arguing with feminists. How does that change sexism?" Also, I'm outright shouting at you, not because of your gender or beliefs, but because you're willingly misinterpreting. This is not a situation where there is a level playing field. You're punching down, not up. Mark Waid in all caps, "I'm not fucking punching anybody." We go here. "I'm also a comic book fan, so there's an intersection. I'm not accusing you of being untrustful. Just not. I was speaking of anyone, feminist or not, who are rightfully worked up about recent misogyny revelations." When you see these tweets, particularly ones like these, and you hear stories about him sending a black wreath to a coworker he didn't like when he found out that his wife died of cancer, or that when he would go into his office and not get his way or get angry, he would punch holes all over the wall, it paints a picture of a rash, emotionally driven, deranged person. This is merely the tip of the iceberg in the things that he's been accused of. He also has a knack of putting his head in places it doesn't belong. Here is his long-term battle with Gamergate. Literally anything that's going on, old Mark Waid has to be involved. I'm not going to read through all of these, but I am going to scroll kind of slowly through them so that you can kind of pause and go through them if you want to. But he'll literally argue back and forth with anybody because he believes he's doing a service, like he's some kind of champion for the people. It just really shows how he's unable to control himself. He can't control his own behavior. This seems to have gotten him in a lot of trouble, as we're going to see. And it's not just his behavior. He also seems to have a knack of going behind people's backs and kind of just stabbing them, particularly to people he calls his best friends. We're going to get to that real soon. We've got 2 more things to go over, and then after that, we're going to get into the real problem here. A story of how Mark Waid screwed over someone he claimed was his best friend. Now here's the real damning evidence that really shows more of the kind of unhinged person this is. This is another time that Mark Waid had quit Twitter after talking about violence towards somebody he didn't like. So I'm going to read through these tweets and you can tell me what kind of person you think this man is. It is to David Gabriel's enormous credit that he somehow chooses every day not to put his fist through Jude Terre's smug-ass face. My biggest regret this weekend is not being at MTL Comic-Con to personally and forcibly move Arthur Saddam's shit off other artists' tables. At least you know, Mark, you'll probably have the opportunity at a show in the future. Mark Waid, I long for it. All I can see when I close my eyes is me literally turning over tables. Just checked. Saddam's art is in an island to himself at Tampa. My next post-SDCC show, he can't pull shit there, and he will be watched. Trust me. busy contacting every show I'm doing the rest of the year to warn them that if Sodium puts this shit there, I'll make it loud and ugly. Anyone want to help me compile a list of upcoming cons? I'll make every effort to curb his shit. Trust me. And then he says here in this post that he claims he is off Twitter because he was making unjustified claims of violence. Well, they're liars, those people, that he was never a jerk. Well, I mean, clearly they're lying, aren't they, Mark Waid? Here is a post about Mark Waid's daily work habits, which I think is pretty interesting. Let's take a look here. This is from a book. Groth. I didn't pay much attention to Wade's work habits or to Amazing Heroes. He seemed like he did his job, but one day I got into the office earlier than I usually did, maybe at 9 or 10 because I probably didn't go to sleep the night before. So I'm in my office, which was off the living room area of the house where Waid, Joe Sacco, and Bob Foray and a couple others had desks. I couldn't see a sliver of the area, and from where I sat, Tom and I shared the space, which was long and rectangular, and my line of sight was limited. So I'm in my office, and suddenly I hear a crash, followed by screaming and sobbing. It sounded like someone was being trashed or mutilated. So I ran out of the living room, and I see Waid on the floor, banging the phone receiver on the ground over and over again, weeping and screaming. I look around me, and absolutely no one is paying attention to this. Joe and Bob are huddled over their typewriters. Dave is sitting calmly at his desk. It's as if I'm the only one witnessing this. I thought maybe I'm hallucinating, so I scream at Waid, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he wakes up, startled, composes himself, picks his phone up, puts it on the desk, and sits down. No one says a word. Wade's behavior was unwavering enough, but even one unwavering was everyone else's lack of a reaction. Later, when Waid had gone to lunch or something, I asked everyone, what the hell was that about? Why were you all sitting there as if nothing was happening? They basically told me that it went on all the time, but only in the morning before I showed up. So they had all gotten used to it. Here is one of Kim Thompson. Not say Mark Waid. Here's the time Kim Thompson did not say that Mark Waid threw a telephone at Joe Sacco. Thompson, I assume everyone knows that Joe Sacco is the nicest guy in comics. He didn't even get mad when Mark Waid nearly beamed him with that telephone. Sacco, that was a bad thing. That was a really bad thing. So now we get to the final piece of the puzzle here. And what I'm doing right now is establishing a history of behavior. Now, this is the final tweet that I'm going to show that Mark Waid has posted. There's much more, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through everything. But as you know, Anarchic Press was going to publish Jawbreakers. Mark Waid found out about this, and immediately after he found out, ran his mouth because he's never faced any consequences for this kind of behavior. He's gonna this time. So he said, I have a call into Anarchic Press. Until I hear back, I'm hesitantly willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't really understand who or what they're getting into business with, which, though it would seem a stretch, is a possibility. If I do hear back, I'll report in. Curious as to how they feel about publishing creators whose marketing strategy is to allegedly cough, encourage their fans to threaten the employees of stores, and or harass and one-star review bomb stores that don't order their product. Are we as creators responsible for the actions of our fans? Ultimately, of course not. But it is morally bankrupt for creators with a voice to pretend they have zero influence over their fans, and it is incumbent upon them as human beings in society to use that influence to intervene if and when people are getting harassed or threatened in the name. You can bet your ass that if I ever found out any of my fans were spreading misogyny, transphobia, racism, or bigotry as a way of supporting my work, I would take active steps to shut that shit down in a cocaine heartbeat. That's just not just shrug my shoulders. And then, of course, it was announced Jawbreakers would not be published by Antarctic Press. And now, let's look at, I think, probably the most horrible thing that he's probably ever done to somebody. We're going to get into that right now. So in case you didn't know, Mark Waid owns a piece of a comic shop. He's kind of a majority owner. Currently, he owns it with one other person. Used to be 3 people. We're going to get into what happened. It's currently called All Yeah Comics, but it used to be called Alter Ego Comics. Well, what happened? We're going to get to that. First, let's share Mark Waid's side of the story. So Mark Waid comes in. As you know, I've been living in Indiana area for a while now. Good people here. One of the best is my friend Jason Pierce, whose shop, Alter Ego Comics, has been my store of choice for some time. Alter Egos has been pretty much a one-man operation forever. Jason's been aching to expand, to move the storefront, to grow the store's market and its community outrage. But while it's always been a worthwhile enterprise, Jason could never stretch his time and resources enough to both run the store and evolve it. Fast forward a little bit. Mark Waid's Alter Ego shop is now All Yeah Comics. What happened? Well, according to Mark Waid, there were a lot of factors that created a situation where I had to offer our partner a full buyout. None of them evil, none criminal, none cheerful or celebratory. But the heart of it came down to the fact that he hadn't been treated particularly well with our transparency by his previous partner. Over the calendar year 2014, we kept face painting against more and more profit-crippling back tax bills that had been disclosed to us when we originally bought in. Every time we thought we were current, some other ghost from Alter Ego past would surface. Christy and I had to divorce ourselves from that entity, and we wanted to stay celibate. If we were going to continue in 2015, we desperately needed the clean debt slate we thought we were getting when we first partnered up. And that meant reincorporating as All Yeah Comics, meaning that All Yeah Comics is now officially a chain. So it sounds okay there. It sounds like it was a mutual breakup, doesn't it? It turns out that's not the case. Let's find out what really happened. In comes Shannon Pierce, the wife of the former owner of Alter Ego. Something that it sounds like was a big part of his life, and someone who trusted Mark Waid as who he considered a friend. Let's find out what Shannon has to say. And the reason that she's sharing this is because of Mark Waid's legal defense fund, which is getting funded. She doesn't like the way that's cutting. And I would like to point out that she's no fan of Richard Meyer either. She's not on anybody's side, but she doesn't like Mark Waid because of what he did. So let's hear what she has to say. I've gone back and forth on a very personal post, but I'm seething with so much rage I have to let it out. I'm done pretending it didn't happen. The NDA has been up for years, and I never had to sign a thing. NDA, if you don't know, means non-disclosure agreement. That means you are not allowed to comment on something. Her husband signed one. It's no longer in effect. She continues, fuck Mark Waid. This man got into business with us. He created a partnership for the comic book store that was never technically legalized. When his POS girlfriend decided she wanted Jason gone, he sided with her knowing it was wrong. When it got bad and we finally lawyered up, we were told, do you have tens of thousands of dollars? Because he does, and he's going to drag this out in court. We can win, and we will win. But that's what you're going to owe in fees. Can you cover that? Because he can. I know his lawyer, and he's giddy at the prospect. We let the store go. 10 years of my best friend's life was gone. 10 years of his hard work realizing a dream was ripped away from him. And to add insult to injury, He left the store with $150,000 in annual sales, $100,000 in product and fixtures, and Mark paid him less than $5,000 to shut his mouth and walk away. That was our reality. A rich, recognized, wealthy white man wanted more and took it. Robbed the little guy, smeared his name, took his business, and then a year later broke up with his girlfriend and signed it all over to her like it didn't even happen. He ran, literally flew across the country and ran from his problems. He throws money around or he runs and hides. We don't know. We always heard about his temper. We didn't realize the reality. If you don't believe me, there's a 9/11 tape out there of Jason calmly calling the cops while Mark is screaming bloody murder, destroying the store in the background. Fact. Now, I don't know all the details of this lawsuit, and I don't really care. What I do know is Mark's temper got him in another situation, and he's using his popularity and his fans to take money from hardworking people to fund his lawsuit. He absolutely does not need your money, and he's absolutely deserving what's coming to him. Damn. Now, to sum up, I'm going to do a little summary, but this 911 tape, I'm working on it. I'm going to get it. Give me some time. I'm talking to some people. I'm hoping to drop that bombshell next week. We'll see. There's a little bit of legal loopholes I got to go through, but I'm working on it. In summary, what happened here? Well, how do I sum all this up? Basically, Alter Ego Comics was owned by Jason Pierce. It became All Yeah Comics. Jason was pushed out by Waid. And the reason he did that and was able to do that is even though they would have won, Waid threatened him with a long, drawn-out court process to get him out because he has the money. He could have just dragged him through. He would have made no money. Profits would have been out the window. It would have been lengthy because Waid can do it. Waid has the money. Waid's rich. He wrote Kingdom Come. And because of that, he threw his hands up, took the $5K, signed an NDA, and had his dreams ruined. And we can go down here and we can look at this posting from Craig. I'm right here with you, sister. I always hated what he did to Jason in the store. I was really hoping that Jason could have outed him back then and let the industry have at him. However, I totally get what Jason did and support him 100%. Here's a picture of him threatening me with legal action from a conversation I was having with Jason on Twitter. I never responded. I hope he gets what's coming to him, even though I'm not a fan at all of the other guy involved in the current matter. So he's talking about Richard C. Meyer. So here's the posting. So apparently Craig was talking with Jason on Twitter. And here's the response that Mark Waid sent him. Craig, with all respect, you clearly know only part of the story. My lawyer and I would suggest you turn away from conversations like this. That is in no way a threat or meant with a bad vibe. I just don't want to see you caught up in anything without knowing the story. That doesn't sound like a threat, huh? Okay, Mark. Okay. So we leave off with this final tweet by Jason. Just got this beauty back. It was found in the dumpster behind All Yeah Comics. In the dumpster. It's beat the hell. But it made it home. The people who own All Yeah Comics are deplorable, morally inept human beings. Do yourself a favor and don't give them your business. You deserve better. Alter Ego Comics, fighting injustice. This was really sad as I was looking into this story about Jason and his wife and his dream. So few of us ever get to, realize our dreams and make a dream come true. Jason did. Jason owned a comic book shop, which was probably something that he had been working for a long time. It takes a lot to start a business and build it and grow it and have it be successful, and it sounds like it was successful. And we had Mark Waid come in and take advantage of him, probably a fan. You would think that a person that owns a comic shop is a fan. Mark Waid comes in and says, I want to help you expand your business. I want to be a part of your business. And then pulls the rug under him and steals his shop. I have no doubts in my mind that 911 tape exists. And I do want to get it. And when I do get it, I will drop the video here on the channel, unless somebody beats me to it. But I think that a behavior of anger and outrage is well established in Mark Waid. And when you hear Jason and Shannon's story about what happened to them and the history that belongs to Mark Waid, you really got to wonder, what's the real purpose of that legal defense fund that everyone's donating to? In my opinion, it sounds like the right amount of money for a settlement and to pay his lawyer. I have no doubt that he's probably going to settle. And you idiots are paying for it. Don't give this man his money. He deserves his up and comings. But anyway, let me know what you think about all of this. This was a long video, but I think it was a good one. Let me know what you think about all of this. Leave your comments. I'm sure some of you have some things you want to say. I'm interested in reading them. Make sure you check out the links in the description. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.